Blessings, reflections. Thank you for tuning in. Today, I just want to say hi. If you've been watching videos and you're tuned into this stuff that I'm sharing regarding Moon, I just want to appreciate you and take this time to recognize that there's somebody watching this video. And if you've been here, thank you. Thank you. Vibes. So yeah, this new chapter for me has been coming into this recognition of what my dharma is and how I've been fractalized by source into this carbon astrologically infused energy form that is physical and has a social identity, but ultimately a life, which is this morphogenic grid of nodes and intersections that I can interact with and decide to choose this way and this way. But ultimately it's this idea of, am I even in free will with that? Is this really me choosing, or am I truly the observer? And once you zoom into this perspective of, which I've been zooming into with the help of my Raja Yoga training right now, and I have a teacher in my life who is correcting my framing or correcting my lensing, which is really just about neutralizing my lensing, which lensing is my basic egoic sheath's crystallization or calcification, really, because it's referring to these nadis and their reflectivity or their cleanliness in being like the prism for, source one input, white beam light, and then multicolor rainbow nadi, physical manifestation of light through refracted, crystallized this stuff, human color being. And so I've been seeing everybody doing that. Not everybody, but I've been seeing, but it feels like everybody, because it feels like there's a group of us who have decided to come into our full potential and our full dharmic realization and our full crystallization in human form. And there are, shout out to Master Teacher Nature Boy, because he's been fractalizing my lensing in a way that it just feels like, it feels like clean light passing through a prism that cleans your prism too, because you're listening, you're experiencing it, because you've decided to click on this video, you have found yourself here in this frequency, and whatever frequency that's coming through Rocco is coming to you in a way that's, yeah, either harmonizing, or maybe it's dissonance, maybe it's more harmony, but I see this spectrum in between dissonance and harmony, and there's maybe a place where you're at in there. And Nature Boy has been like this for me. Many master teachers have come in the past year or so for me, prominently. Eckhart Tolle, I think it's Tolle. I don't know which one. I'm pretty sure it's Tolle. Anthony Robbins, Alan Watts, Terrence McKenna, and yeah, Nature Boy is one of them. This other master teacher named, his YouTube is Uplifting Humanity. His name is Billy Hartbeing, and there's been several. I see them as, so entering now into what this video is about. I see all those master teachers as, through my lensing, this newly installed lensing, to be specific, I am now, Rocco is interfacing with every human, every crystal that is in human form, as through this moon theory lensing of it as reflections. And this is word I've been hearing a lot of people say lately to describe us, to describe each other, that we are reflections of each other, that you are somehow reflecting me back to me, like a component of me, some more than others. It's this wildly complex quantum reflection and reverberation of our DNA and of our vibration and of our astrology and our elemental composition of earth, fire, water, wind, ether, configured in a very specific way. And this is our personal reality that's enmeshed with our physical reality, that's enmeshed with our pranic reality, and these sheaths of our existence that is here in time space, on earth plane, on Gaia plane, in this matrix of an agreed crystalline geometric reality. And once you really start study the sacred geometry and how it really actually manifests, and you just start to see source code unveiling itself to you and the glitches in the code, and you're on this journey and you're on this digital alchemy journey, it all starts to show it to you. And so this way that it's been showing it to me in this moon theory is that that's what that points at, that we are reflections of each other. We are like mirrors or moons reflecting the one light, the truth of that which is, that which we all are, and that which is present beyond us experiencing it or not. But then that's the whole thing of like, well, we're creating this reality together. This is a collective agreed reality, this earth, this social time, this thing that we've been measuring with time and society and events. That's this agreed reality. But we are, as manifested humans, we're manifested personal realities, we're manifested reflections of this existence together. So it's like of this shared dream, of this big slumber party that we woke up and were refracting and reflecting back to each other. And then there's alchemy. Then, as a prism, you have the opportunity to cleanse and to do sadhana towards yoga or enlightenment or awakening or self-improvement or life improvement or karmic resolution plans, or there's a variety of things you can do with your energy. Or maybe you came to this plane this time to embody a more obstacle focused karmic homework assignment of sorts. And I think everybody can alchemize, so it is this pointing at there being this thing that we are identifying as life, as separate from us, and then there's the thing that we are, which seems to have its identity reflected back to itself everywhere. And so we are like the identity of source manifested into the varieties of human beings that are existing on earth right now. And so that's moon theory, or at least how I'm being shown is my fractalized lensing after, during, and pre my alchemical journey, or Rocco's alchemical journey. Finding how to talk about it still. I remember I'd spoken third person I remember it was third grade, and I lived in Concord, Michigan, and I spoke in third person at school, in Concord Elementary School. I remember walking down the hallway, I think it was a dude named Nick, actually, and anyways, there was this conversation, and I said, yeah, well, Rocco doesn't really like that. Or I made some comment to myself in the third person, and someone was like, yeah, that's kind of weird. And I remember it kind of just altered how I spoke about my experience, but I do remember it. And I'm also being reflected back to me of this current download of knowingness and current experience of this as a reflection of truth in my experiences. I have a nephew right now who's I guess he's just over 2, and he's just beginning to like wield the English language, but he speaks of himself in third person, and it's been this beautiful reflection for me, because I remember referring to the physical embodiment of myself as like, yeah, but I'm something else. Like, I'm not just this. And by recognizing that, I think it's some type of alignment, some type of freedom code for for referring to self, at least along the way. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe we become avatars and like there is no self to recognize, but on the way to that, that's what I've been shown moon theory is for. It's like on the way to that. And I found all these ancient wisdom teachings and they point at, yeah, there being a state, maybe it's samadhi, maybe it's, you know, your akashic cherry pops and you reach this next actual stage. I look at someone how Sadhguru speaks of his experience and how Eckhart Tolle speaks of his experience. And there's genuinely like a reference to a pre and a post experience. And I've also met definitely one. I've shared space with Sadhguru. I haven't met him. I've been in the same space with him, and but I've met one person who have had an experience, and they're a guru and a teacher, and what I call a true reflection or a prime mirror. And it's this idea that some mirrors are, for some reason, more, we'll call it the word potent than other mirrors, which means other reflections, which means we have people that we come into in our life that is, it seems like key relationships in our lives that are like key in regards to, you know, uh, our, yeah, karmic unraveling of our accumulated self and non-pristine version of selves along the way, which is really just the experience in linear space-time of ego deaths. And this exchanging of falsity or at least corroded lensing for clarity along the way. Yeah, in this framing that's being shown to me is and can be called moon theory, for looking at all of it like it's a way of theorizing or systematizing into understanding, into alchemical grasping, conscious, to make aware, to make light and understood way of framing life that is using a system, understanding that every reference point, every space holder is like a reflection or a mirror or a moon for us in our life. And people are like that. And some people, for some reason, it seems like maybe you can call it karmic, maybe you can call it, I mean, call it, there's a lot of different ways you can call it. It's another conversation. But they're like mirrors. And so we have mentors, we have maybe siblings, maybe friends, peers, mentors, uh, parents, grandparents, uh, nieces and nephews. We have all these different versions of how another human being can come into our life and reflect back to us ourself. And we do that same thing. And that's this bond, that's this experience together, and that's this ship, this way of a vehicle of moving through space and time together, a ship of relating, a relationship. And so, yeah, these prime mirrors, people like Nature Boy, people like Eckhart Tolle, listening to them speak, and which has been called, I've been called to do this work because so many of my real life, non-digital, real life, because the internet's not the real world, but my physical three-dimensional existence, I'm interfacing with actual human beings. I have actual human beings in my life, and it seems like each relationship is showing me who I am in a nuanced way, that if I'm just saying yes and following source's guidance, like I have a situation in my life and there's a certain amount of like choices that I have at any given moment of make this phone call, pursue this thing, don't. Do what's necessary, do like responsibilities like paying rent is one of them, or going to work is another one of them, or brushing my teeth is another one of them, eating healthy is another one of them, taking a shower or not is one of them, calling my mom or not, calling my mom and making sure I tell her that I love her and she knows that or not, reaching out to my dad, doing the same thing with him or not, waking up early and working out and deciding to put energy toward the the physical mastery of this experience, making this video or not, and exporting my experience that I'm, and so etc etc etc. I have all these are some of the personal ones from this conduit, the one speaking now, Rocco, that I'm still learning how to even refer to as with this new, I think it's called non-dualistic framing that feels best, really is just what it's about. But also another prime mirror for me has been Abraham Hicks, and how Esther refers to Esther when Esther is allowing Abraham or pure source frequency to come through it in this cleansed way, that Esther interfaces with the process as a recognition of a specific conglomerate of that which is source called Abraham. And then you got infinite waters diving deep, and Ralph is allowing it to come through him in a certain way. Tony Robbins is source. You look at Tony Robbins speak for extended periods of time, he is a prime mirror. He is around in his sessions and stuff, and so we can have a conversation. Literally, this is not the video to do it, but we'll have a conversation about what is ego then. What is ego around the sheath of the prism that we are? If we are in our clarified state, or our illuminated state, or our fully realized state, or at least most self-aware state, then we are a personality that is expressing something. And now what you express is a lot of, that's a lot of determination of ego to dharmic to karmic alignment work, which I'm seeing, at least in my existence, is called alchemy. The word for that process, the word for the process of using your will, or at least your perceived will, to make these choices towards aligning with what you can theoretically find to be the most desirable thing, or most, at least, highest thing to do, pleasant thing to do, thing that is most resonant with you in which to do, that which you can do, which is in some way a reflection of your highest nature versus your lower nature. And so, yeah, you have moments in life, you have people in life, you have all these things, and they're all little nodes of opportunity of how to behave, respond, and they're all reflections. They're reflections of you. How do you know who you are without, how do you know you're soft without knowing it's hard? How do you know that you're cold without knowing how hot you are? How do you know how tired you are without being how energized you are? And so these moments are all reflecting back to us in binary, which, and then I'm seeing though that even binary has, like, you really zoom it out and it still has value and quality. So quality is in value, which is numerology often. Well, I guess always, but that's the matrix and that's the code of watching duality. It's really just a bunch of mirrors going. I'm picturing mirrors going, like, shaking and like tilting back and like reflecting you back to you in this quantum prism realm, which I will say, and I will make some more videos about it, elaborating on it, but I've come to this fragmentation of my lensing in the third dimension through various works with plant medicines. And I'm gonna make some videos about my work with DMT and ayahuasca and LSD and ganja and psilocybin, because it's a big part of this, seems to be, shamanic alchemical lens cleaning process, which, yeah, I'm finding the words to define all of it in a third dimensional way, in a socially accessible third dimensional way. But my truest heart's desire for the past 9 years has been seeing truth, seeing the truth, because every level of, like, so, and yeah, that's not what this video is about either. This video is basically just some Moon Theory 101 vibes, which will probably be the title, because I'm seeing that this lensing is coming to me in linear time, and part of this astrologically carbonized entity speaking that is a conduit for source named Rocco, part of my, it seems, crystallized karmic homework is in expression. And my moon in Leo, in tropical astrology, and then my moon in Cancer in Vedic astrology or sidereal astrology, to me reflects that I have this emotion that either way, with Leo or moon, depending on Leo or Cancer, depending on how you look at the dates and how you look at astrology. Even in a 13 sign, my moon is in Cancer, and I think last time I'll have to check it again. But learning about that even has been for me this reflection of my own prism of like, which honestly is a big reason why I'm doing this video right now, is this recognition that's like, this is part of my it seems release pattern or interaction pattern, which to me words like dharma point at the, not the need for, but the opportunity to understand why one does what one does. Why is one pursuing a career? Why is one choosing which movies to watch? Oh, it's my favorite. Where did you get your favorites from? Who installed those preferences? Those preferences. I don't know what but those presets in the experience of you as the controller, holding the controller, observing the reality, observing the narrative, like the video game, like the visual game, like the visual cortex, cerebral experience of life and reality, game or play or playing out of events in time, 3 dimensions with a fourth in time. And so to install your perspective in a higher realm that transcends and integrates every step of the way, as high as you can go, I guess. Paramahansa Yogananda, prime reflection of the choosing, the opportunity to choose source, to devote. What is devotion? What is it to be a devotee? And then your system, Hinduism, Christianity, Judaism, Kabbalah, Egyptism, Kemetism, uh, Sufism, Confucianism, Buddhism, Taoism, Islam. What are you going to choose to install? But maybe you've already come into contact with something. You're close to something, and so you have proximity to something. The system of how to have your lensing identified, because we all have our lensing, and until you alchemize all of it and neutralize all your lensing, then it's at least relative and relevant to your experience. So it's like, I don't know, if you're watching this video, at least you have some interest. If you're watching this video to this point, then you have some interest in alchemy. You have some interest in alchemizing your experience into what you at least can understand to be a higher vibration or a higher experience, or a more highly in attune with source, or a purified or an intensified of the pleasant aspects of that which we call life. And so in that, for me, it's been called moon theory, and it's looking at all of these things like it's a reflection, it's an opportunity to lean forward or left or right or back, and our level of awareness of who we are in that is really what we have the opportunity to act on or not. But yeah, now we're getting into a free will conversation, which is it keeps wanting to come through, but I'm like, yeah, but I feel the density of it. It's got to be another video of yeah, it's like, do we have free will or not? That's a really interesting conversation to get into, because if you journal, I think that's, for me, been one of the ways that I've been observing my experience. and reflecting on my experience. Like, what is it to have a full moon ceremony or a new moon ceremony where you're reflecting back in a certain way how life is going, how you are, where you are, how you are, what you are, being and doing, but being. And it's reflection. It's like taking time to be conscious of that which is. It's like space-time, the space-time matrix 3D realm Gaia simulator is dense, and we have dense identities. And so to me, moon theory is a helpful reference system for the alchemical journey to just add levels of awareness to the experience, of which is ultimately trusting and surrendering and moving further into darkness of that which you are, and that is then transmuted as soon as you walk into it into light. And so yeah, this is a process of us illuminating the dark side of the moon until we're in the sun, until we are one with the sun, until we are like the sun, until we are in Christ, in crystalline, high refracted sun, SON, light, beam, oneness, unity, conscious, unity mind, non-duality. And so reverse engineered rainbow into crystal prism into oneness. And then you're just the flower that's blossomed. You're just the flower that's blossomed. What is Buddha? Who is Jesus? And so, and also, who is Lucifer? But, this is funny now, who is Ganesh? All these questions for me, they've been this technique or technology of turning a door handle into a moment of consideration, or a moment, a room of understanding or contemplation. And so, yeah, one of the powerful ones is, what is Buddha? And then another one is, who is Jesus? Which, again, there's like whole videos on those door handles because they're dense. It's like, that's obviously you could talk for a long time just about that question, that statement. But yeah, those door handles are into moments of mirrors or rooms of mirrors that'll reflect back to you who you are. If you ask the question from true, sincere heart in integrated, aligned integrity and sincerity, true sincerity to the universe, and then reflect on it and allow it to come to you, asking, what is Buddha? Journal that, write to that, meditate to that. That question, that door handle. What is Buddha? But those are the prime reference points. I think I'm just going at how dense of a door handle it is, how much it's asking you to consider just in asking it. And yeah, J-Man, Yahushua. All right, I think that's a good amount of expression and exporting for this video. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate the opportunity to share, which has been a gift to me. So, namaste, reflection. I see you on your journey. Thank you for walking it. Thanks for tuning in. More vibes soon. Moon Theory vibes.